ever been in a movie theater where one person just won't stop doing something that's really loud and obnoxious? This guy's like 2 rows below me, and he wouldn't stop doing it. The whole movie. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking Gretel and Hansel. I need you in the comments down below. Let me know, were you looking forward to this movie? Did it end up surprising you? Let's talk about this film. So a long time ago, in a distant fairy tale countryside, a young girl leads her little brother into a dark wood in desperate search of food and work, only to stumble upon a nexus of terrifying evil. If you guys want to hear me talk spoilers, be sure to go over to Film Strippers on YouTube, where 3C Films and I will be diving into this film tomorrow. So I want to start with this. Normally, movies like this, they're just... I don't want to say not for me, but I don't respond as highly to them as some other people, and that's fine, right? We all have our different tastes. Now, in the month of January, we have gotten some pretty bad horror films thus far. Movies like The Grudge and The Turning have not worked for me at all. They've fallen completely flat with little to no redeeming qualities. For this film, unexpectedly, surprisingly, there are a few redeeming qualities, and there was actually an effort being made with this movie. Does that mean that I liked it at the end of the day? I can't even necessarily get that far. I didn't think this movie was all that good, but I really appreciate the effort, and I really like what they tried or attempted to do. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't sound like high praise, but when you're comparing it to other movies that have come prior, especially in the month of January, and when you go in with the lowest of expectations, I can say this movie was a surprise. I can say this movie did a lot more than I expected it to do, and a lot of it starts with the craft. This really is a beautiful film to look at times. Now, we'll get into the fact that it does go a bit overboard later, and it kind of loses any steam that it sets up and it builds upon in the first 15 minutes, but let's talk about the first 15 minutes and the fact that I did not think we were going to get any type of craft within this film, especially when you get a title like Gretel and Hansel. Okay, we've seen Hansel and Gretel how many times? What more can they add to this story? Well, they can approach it from a very artistic light, and that's what they did. Speaking of lights, we have some really good color correction here, solid production design, and some stunning imagery at times. I kid you not, the cinematography here was really cool. It feels like a very different feeling movie than what you anticipate. Way less of a studio horror movie, and that's one thing I appreciate about the film, is that it's very artistic at times. It feels like a Yorgos Lanthimos directed movie on occasion. Just from a cinematography standpoint, you have that look harkening back to movies like The Revenant and The Favorite and The Witch, all of those film styles, and that all builds to create this creepy, eerie, unsettling atmosphere that tonally works very well with what the film is going for throughout the movie, and it separates it from the rest of what this genre goes for. And when I say goes for, the movie really goes for it in all different fashions. It gets very intense, way more intense than I expected it to get. The imagery, like I said, is really, really cool at times, but we're also, I won't say overboard, but we're going really hard into the gore territory, into the violence territory. It's subtly intense, if that makes sense to you guys. And all of these things I'm saying, I really appreciated, and they were set up well in the first 15-20 minutes of the movie. And they're still explored as we progress. But the problem with this film is the fact that the story, it kind of drops off the further we move along, and it feels less important than I think the filmmakers intended on it feeling. And it is, at the end of the day, in my opinion, style over substance. Style that works at times, yes, but at a point, halfway through the film, you feel like they're just throwing everything at the fire to see what all sticks, right? A lot of creativity, but every single camera angle you can possibly think of. We have close-ups, we have wide shots, we have movement, we have a lot of shaky cam. Sometimes when the film calls for it, sometimes when the film doesn't necessarily call for it. There's one scene in particular that I'm thinking of. There were at least 20 to 25 cuts, and they all felt so jarring. Other scenes, we let things play out for 2 minutes, and I'm just like, can we not stick to a style? Do we have to try to implement every single style that there is? A lot of style. And sometimes that works for a movie like this, but it takes away from where the story progresses to. It takes away from any character development for anyone other than basically Gretel, even Hansel. And I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into blaming child actors for not putting in the best performances. All I will say is the storyline for Hansel was just not as strong. The character of Hansel, for me, just wasn't as strong. The accent felt a little bit off. I liked Gretel quite a bit. I think Sophia Lillis is a good actress. I cannot wait to see where she goes. Her storyline is solid, but that's really the only one that piqued any sort of interest for me. And I know that's the main crux of the story. I get that, but everything else, it just feels empty, and the story comes to such a screeching halt. But once we get to what is supposed to be a payoff, I did not feel the payoff for our characters. I did not really feel anything emotionally. There was a big disconnect between me and this film. I can appreciate the style. I can appreciate what they were going for. I can appreciate the fact that it's not your standard run-of-the-mill January horror film, and I like that. But the story itself, whether it's the film trying to capitalize on shock factor, and at times it just kind of feels like a cheap trick, or the fact that one shot could be stunning, and I was so impressed with the color and the cinematography, and then the next shot, whether it's the decision that they make or where the camera is placed, it almost feels amateurish. And it's that distinction all throughout the film, and I'm just like, no consistency whatsoever. Not everyone is going to feel that way. Some people are going to appreciate a lot of things, especially the third act and where it goes. I mean, it is very dark. It's very intense. Some really good practical effects. I take away nothing from all of those things. But like I said, for me, it was the disconnect. And that was my big issue with Gretel and Hansel. So if you guys enjoy this review, if you like what we're doing on this channel, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Still going with a 48%, definitely some craft here, more so than expected. And it is a surprising movie for me, especially compared to some of the other movies we've gotten this year. But I still wanted more. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to leave your comments down below and stay tuned because a lot more reviews coming this weekend. And then Sunday, the Movie House Awards, we are revealing the winners for all of the categories you voted on. I'll see you guys very soon.